Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your boy K. Abdul of the Civic Engagement Podcast. Tonight, I bring you one of three series of the Oakland Mayoral special election. In case you have not been paying attention, Oakland is having a special election, and that election is scheduled for the 15th, April 15th. Believe it or not, it's going to be a busy day. So while you're filing your taxes, you're also trying to vote. And that's how the city council set it up, through the advice of the city attorney. So on April 15th, after you pay your taxes, you go vote. Or you vote and then you go pay your taxes. Either way, Oakland is having a special election. So the question is, how do we get here? So everybody, whether you live in Chinatown, Diamond District, Lake Merritt, or all the way to Glenview, you are having a special election. So, Oakland mayor race. And so that's where we at, folks. That's where we at. So, there are a lot of candidates in this race. Okay, there are a lot of candidates in this race. So that's the real truth. And to be exact, one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Like 15 candidates. However, let's be realistic. There are people out there that are habitual candidates. They run all the time. And this is no disrespect to any of those people that run all the time, because that's what civic engagement is all about, to get involved. But we are talking with the most visible candidate tonight, and the two viable candidate tonight, Lauren Taylor. Former council member for District 6, a good friend of mine. And he was the runner-up in the 2022 election against former Mayor Sheng Tao, who was recalled. And he's going against Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee, former U.S. Congress for the 12th District of Oakland. And of course, was a Senate candidate for 2024. But Barbara Lee's record is lengthy. It's lengthy. She started in elected office way back in 1998. And that election was to succeed Rondella. But before that, Barbara Lee was in the California Assembly. People don't know that. She was in the California Assembly. And not only that, she was also in the California Senate. So she was a member of the California Senate, and she was a member of the California Assembly. And in 1990 to 1996, in the California Assembly, and from 1996 to 1998 in the California Senate, and from 1998 onwards until just January, she was a member of the U.S. Congress. So she has a lengthy, extensive record. So that's the record of Barbara Lee. You know, that's the record of Barbara Lee. And that's who is running for mayor. And then let's talk about Lauren Taylor. Lauren Taylor is a friend of mine. Lauren Taylor came to the political scene in November of 2018. Lauren Taylor came to the political scene in November of 2018 when he ran against Desley Brooks for District 6 in East Oakland. Mind you, Desley was being represented in District 6 for the past 16 years. Lauren Taylor came as a brand new candidate, and he was propped against Desley Brooks. So this is where the history of Lauren Taylor get a little bit complicated. There was statement to the fact that Lauren Taylor was nurtured by former Mayor Libby Schaaf. He was nurtured by former Mayor Libby Schaaf. And he was endorsed by Libby Schaaf. And Taylor won that race. Now, while Taylor was in the city council, from 2019 to 2022, there was not much I could think of in his record. What I say, Lauren Taylor should have stayed in the city council. Lauren Taylor should have stayed in the city council. But however, he decided to forego his city council seat and run for mayor against Sheng Tao. And that was a very close election. It was a very close election. But what ended up happening is that because of ranked choice, Lauren Taylor lost to Sheng Tao. And fast forward, Sheng Tao was recalled. And now Lauren is back in the arena again to run for the same seat that he was defeated again. So that's where we are. So I made an analogy earlier that Oakland Oakland is a beautiful ship that is ashore on high water. And now, who is the best candidate? Who is the best person? Who is the best person to make sure we right the ship? And that's where we at. So I think both Lauren Taylor and Barbara Lee will make a good candidate for office. However, you have to able to bring everybody together. Half of the city council have endorsed Barbara Lee already, and the endorsement list is long. Barbara Lee, endorsement of Barbara Lee is long. She endorsed by Congresswoman Latifah Simon, former Governor Jerry Brown, Assembly Member Mia Banter, Assembly Member Buffy Wiggs, former Mayor Elio Harris, former Mayor Jim Kwan. Now, the dagger is that former Mayor Libby Schaff. So it begs the question, why would Libby Schaff endorse Lauren Taylor in his initial political inaugural debut in 2018 against Desley Brooks? And now fast forward, she endorsed Barbara Lee. There is a statement that always said, in politics, there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies. It's just permanent interests. Apparently, the interests of Lauren Taylor versus the interests of Libby Schaff have changed. And therefore, the former Mayor Libby Schaff decided to now support Barbara Lee. That's my only explanation I could give, that the interests have changed. And she's also endorsed by the East Bay Times. Now, Lauren Taylor had one key big endorsement from the current San Jose Mayor, Matt Mahan. That's the only person I could think of, other than all the other civic business leaders that have endorsed him. So, Oakland is at a crossroad. It's going to take all of us to get involved. It's going to take all of us to get involved. Because Barbara Lee can't do it by herself. That's the reality. And the other reality is that Lauren Taylor can't do it by himself. Now, in the ideal world, or in a utopian world, they would both collaborate and decide to work in each other's administration. And that's possible. That is possible. So how will that be possible? That would be possible by the candidate themselves making sure that they hold their supporters accountable. They hold their supporters accountable and check their supporters when they start making inflammatory statements about the opposing candidate. Vice versa. They have to, and I know it's hard to do when somebody is supporting your campaign, especially if they put in financial resources behind your campaign. It's hard to tell them, no, I want your money, but I don't want you to send this message. It's really hard. If you're ever involved in politics, you know. So what the easiest thing is to do is to publicly distance yourself from that source of information. However, if that information still continue, that shows lack of leadership in able to rein in your supporters. Like, hey, I understand you supported me, but this message, I do not agree with it. I want you guys to retract that message or tone it down. That's what good leadership does. And that's the historical moment to this. During the first Barack Obama presidential election against John McCain. This is when Barack Obama was fresh new, and John McCain was having a Republican town hall. And this is when they was calling Barack all type of names. That Barack Hussein is not a citizen, all kind of name, he's a Muslim, and all that. All the names they was calling him. And there was a lady that stood at the John McCain town hall. She hold on to the mic and she started disparaging Barack. This is all factual. You could Google this. This lady started disparaging Barack at the town hall. And the late Senator John McCain stand there for a moment so he could kind of see where this lady was going. And as soon as he find out she was going through a bunch of statements that he personally do not agree with, he kindly request to get the mic back from the lady. And he took the mic. He said, I do not agree with your statement. From that moment on, I respected John McCain, because that shows leadership, because he was in the theater. Emotions was running high. But you know what? John McCain was able to have a foresight. Say, you know what? No, I disagree with your message. Please give me the mic. Because you know, if he did not, at that moment, everything that lady said would have affected his campaign. So that's leadership. So there are moments, political history and moment where you could do this. So if you have somebody in your camp that disparaging the other candidate, you should take the time to reach out to those particular supporters of yours and tell them, I disagree with this message. Please refrain from using such message. Now, I've seen some of them Lawrence Taylor did that. He made a statement, NPR, but yet people are saying that these negative ads are still continuing. And now, to be fair also, there are some statements being made by supporters of Bible Lee. I've seen those on the internet. Compare Lawrence to Trump, compare him to narcissists, and all type of behavior that is not becoming. I must say, Lawrence Taylor is a good man, he's a family man, and I respect him for that. So if we're going to talk, let's talk about pure political competency, ability to move this city forward. That's where I want to take this discussion tonight. Because the city is at a crossroad. The city is at a crossroad. And because we have discovered a new tool that we have never used before, which is the recall. I always say recall is a California political tool, and it is used and sometimes it is abused. And I believe a recall is used when someone is incompetent, clearly incompetent, and has criminal activities. And that's what a recall is there for. But policy difference as to how you govern should never be a reason to recall any candidate. I've stated my stand several times. So that's what my stand is on recall. Policy differences should never be a reason why any candidate should be recalled. But that is my personal opinion as to recall. But so what we have now, we have factions that are active in Oakland that have learned how to use the recall. And so any elected official need to tread lightly, in the sense that you don't want to move too hard on one side for fear of getting recalled. Because at the end of the day, you only take 10% of the voters to recall an elected candidate, to put a ballot measure together. 10% to put a recall into the ballot. It only takes 10%. That's not a lot. So basically, that all the people that did not vote for you could just come back and sign a recall petition and put it on a ballot. So that's where we at. But again, unless he's clearly incompetent or criminality, I don't think anybody should be embarking on a recall process. But that's where we at now in this political stage. So, but those are the description. So between Lauren Taylor and Barbara Lee. And so it begged the question, are Lauren Taylor and Barbara Lee the only candidates in the... No, they are not. There are other candidates in this race. And what we need to be careful of is to make sure that when people decide to go vote, whether they're voting for Barbara Lee or they're voting for Lauren Taylor, we have to be mindful of who they're voting for in a ranked choice, their second choice and their third choice. Because if they voted their second choice and they happen to be the same person that they encouraged to vote second, that person have a likelihood of becoming a mayor also. You guys didn't hear me though. I'm gonna repeat that again. Because of ranked choice voting in Oakland, both candidates have to be careful, if not refrain from even allowing anybody else to be considered to vote, to receive vote for their constituencies. Because what happened is that if they encourage anybody to receive any of their vote, when it's time comes for the process for elimination in the ranked choice, there is a likelihood that whoever that candidate is could possibly become the mayor. So hopefully they just run in a straight race. Barbara Lee versus Lauren Taylor, and that's it. Nobody else is mentioned. Nobody else is encouraged. So it makes it like a two-person race. So that's the only thing I could say for sure. There's a possibility that a third party, one of the candidates, will also become the mayor. So this race is not just clearly between Lauren Taylor and Barbara Lee, even though it seemed that way because they're both viable leading candidates. So I don't want to get to the actual data and statistics and poll right now. I just want to talk about the candidate out of field and all that. So Lauren, I've created a great support base, and he has become very viable, and I commend him for that. But this is what I will say, ideally, if I had a magic wand. I could have said Lauren Taylor is an ideal candidate for the Oakland School Board. Why do I say that? He's an educated man, and he's a family man, and I think he will be well versed in school district politics. But that's just my personal opinion. And then if you say that for Lauren Taylor, then what will you say for Barbara Lee? If it was me, I think Barbara Lee have done all the great things. She's a stately woman. Her record will go down as one of the most formidable politicians in the history of the United States and in Oakland, California. And if it was me, I would have said that record should just rest. That record rest with that record. But that's just me. But this is a special election. So a special election calls for a special candidate. Because we need to right the ship. We need to right the ship. We are sailing in the high seas, in troubled waters. And we need to right the ship to bring it ashore. We're dealing with homelessness. We're dealing with crime. We're dealing with lack of resources. We're dealing with public nuisance, illegal dumping. We're dealing with all the sporting teams living. We're trying to generate revenue. And we definitely trying to fight back the policy that's coming out from the Trump administration. And you have to manage the city. So there's some tall orders. So, and you have to hit the ground running. There is no time to learn on the job. So that's where we're at. And that's where we are right now. And that's why it's important to get to know these two people very well. Lauren Taylor and Barbara Lee. They're both formidable candidates. They're both good. It just depends on what side. So what I caution both is to make sure that they caution their supporters, not to go to the extreme and try to debase each other. Because in the long run, I am thinking that they're both going to need each other. You know. So that's where we are. So this is the civic engagement. This is series 1 of 3-part series that I'm going to be talking about the Oakland special mayoral election. And we got here because Shane Tao was recalled. Now, everything in hindsight in 2020, during that recall process, we could have also make an election to have a candidate. But here we are. for special election, so which is on April 15. And I think it's going to be a great day. Oakland is going to decide exactly who is the best person to take the city forward. So we'll resume next week. Civic Engagement Podcast, K. Abdul Mahid, Series 1, getting to know the candidate. Don't let your heart be troubled. Peace.